Hi, everyone, and welcome to the final part of day 3 of our ARM Tech Talks live from Las Vegas and CES. I'm your host, Tobias McBride, and all week, together with some of our awesome ARM partners, I've been bringing you some of the incredible ARM innovations at this show from our partner ecosystem. And this ARM Tech Talk series really is the place for you to discover the latest trends, technologies, and best practices from the ARM ecosystem. So welcome, and welcome back if you've joined the series, and thank you so much for joining us. 70% of the world's population touches ARM-based devices. So, if you look at what's been announced at CES this week, and you look at all the incredible innovations at CES, it's more than likely that it's been built on ARM. So we really hope that you've seen a lot of great stuff at CES from all of the channels, from all of our partners, and you've been inspired and going, wow, that's probably built on ARM out there. And if you want to find out more about the ARM Tech Talk series that we've been hosting this week, and actually that is a weekly series, just head to arm.com/tech talks. We pasted a link in the chat to see what we've got coming up. We do this weekly outside of major shows like this, so do go and check that out. And it's been an incredible week. It's been really, really busy. We've had a lot of live streams, some awesome partners, including Lenovo showing off their new tablet, and a really great selection of automotive innovation from RTI, Greenhouse Software, Tata Technologies, and Tier 4. And today we get to take a bit more of a reflective tone. We get to look back on CES a bit and some of the awesome ARM innovations at the show. To do that, I'm honored to be joined today in a nice, relaxing setting, away from the hustle and bustle of CES, by Jeff Geerling. Jeff, thank you so much for joining today's ARM Tech Talk. It's great to have you. I don't know about you, but my step count, and actually, to be honest, my blister count is through the roof this week. This is my first time at CES, so I was probably a bit of a novice there. So I think you're saying just before we started, your step count has been pretty high this week.
18,000, so 18,000 the first day, 10,000 next day, 7,000 today. So yes,
it's awesome. It's really quite incredible.
It's good to sit down.
I know, it's so great to sit down, nice, relaxing, comfortable chairs. So before we get cracking, and we kind of share what's been going on this week and some of the awesome ARM innovations we've seen, Jeff, I'd love for you to tell us a bit about yourself, a bit about your background, and kind of your experience that's been working with ARM.
Yeah, so I used to be a software technical architect for a lot of web applications, websites, and things like that. And I got into, how do we get the performance and deployability of these things better, getting them into kiosks and things like that. And all the time you're like, I need something more efficient. I need something that can run on battery power or run without using too much energy. And so the answer was starting to use small ARM devices. That's really where I got my start with the embedded and ARM ecosystem. And I grew from there. I knew electronics a little bit as a kid, but I got out of it in the software. And then now I'm back into it again, using Raspberry Pi and other embedded things. So it's been amazing to be at the show and see so many of the little things that's like, I've never had a chance to touch it, but I get to touch it. And a lot of times, you open it up and you see a little SoC in there with a few ARM cores, and that was why I was happy to come with ARM.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this your first time at CES?
This is my first. Yeah, I've had health issues the past few years, and every year I'm like, I want to do it, but it's just I can't make it. And now my health has been good, and I can get those 18,000 steps.
Yeah, exactly. You can get back to it. You can get back to it, right? So, it's been great hosting these all week. It's been really, really great to see. And I'd love to just summarize some of the stuff. We're going to have a nice chat about you, about a lot of these key themes. And one of them I'd love to talk about is automotive. It's been huge at CES this year. We've seen a lot of automotive innovation at this, so, software-defined vehicle, cloud-native development, so much more. Really exciting trends here. So I'm going to share some really cool clips that you've captured and that I've captured, just as we're kind of having a chat about
I think I even bumped into it a couple of
You have, exactly. I've been going around, there's Jeff, there he is. So even though it's such a huge show with like 130,000 people and goodness knows how many square feet of exhibition space, it's been really awesome. So let's have a look at some of this. So, we started off, right? I started off at Green Hills, one of the, we'll start off with Green Hills there, although this was the talk I did yesterday. I'm trying to remember when, it feels like a lifetime ago. But I felt really captured the kind of breadth of that ARM ecosystem. They had like 8 different demos, 8 different use cases across zonal, safety controllers, and more. And I even got to sit in the car. You can see it was pretty cool to actually, again, sit down more than anything, but really see some cool demos here based on ARM. And you also got to have a chat with Green Hills as well, I understand, Green Hills Software. Talk to me about kind of what you got to see from them and having a chat with them yesterday.
Yeah, well, I was excited to see they had a few bare development boards sitting around on their table. So I asked them a lot about them. They had a demo set up with they had a custom debugger that was debugging their software, and it's highly optimized. It works with a few different ARM SoCs from the vendors that they work with. And I asked them a lot about the security lifecycle for their software, because I'm going to be in the market for a car soon. And you see these news articles like, oh, the car's, it's hacked or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen to my car.
You definitely don't.
Green Hills was a company that has been around for, decades at this point. So they have a lot of experience deploying software into cars and making a software-defined vehicle that's also secure and I feel safe driving. So, I asked them about that. They said, here's a lot of the different aspects of our deployment and development workflow that help us to have secure over-the-air deployments. And all their demos, each one had a little SoC. One of them had a cool little 32-bit microcontroller that had virtualization.
Yes.
So they can run two things at the same time. And, they showed how even if one thread crashes, the other one still does its merry work,
Yep, exactly. They had the driver drowsiness detection one as well, which was quite interesting to see. I mean, all of these features I'm looking at going, well, my car is fairly old. I've still got wind-up windows in the back. So I'm still, getting quite a good workout from that. And now look at all these amazing trends out there. I'm thinking, gosh, a bit like you, when we replace a car, when we get a new one, all these great new features that are already out. And with all these new advances in development methodology and the cloud native development flows we're seeing and software-defined vehicle trends, it's just going to accelerate even further.
And they mentioned, the cars used to have 8 or 9 systems in the car, and now it's all converging into one.
Yes, exactly.
So making sure that that's secure, making sure it's easy to deploy and more efficient and powerful. It's great to see that.
Exactly, and all those demos powered by ARM was just awesome. That DNA that ARM has of that power efficiency, low power but incredibly capable performance and diversity of performance was really, really great to see. And we continued that, right? I mean, the next one of the next ones we had was I had a chat with RTI. In fact, this was the first talk I did. It's always exciting doing the first one. It's really exciting, really nerve-wracking doing a live stream.
Making sure the equipment works.
Exactly. It's like, is this going to work? Are people going to tune in? It was really great to see so many people tune in. They talked about their Connects drive framework and use in automotive. And Pedro, you can see on the screen, he's also works quite closely with us on the SDV Alliance announcement we'll talk through later. But you can see behind us in the photo, there's tons of ARM boards. All of their software and their Connects drive framework for use in automotive was being used really across the entire ecosystem of all these different use cases. And again, that dynamic zonal architecture that we've been talking about, that we saw at Green Hills, and this move towards zonal controllers to combine with these new development methodologies was just awesome to see. So it was great to see them talk about that. And then we had a really great chat as well this morning, actually, with Tier 4. This was, we were hoping to do it. We were thinking of doing it. Could we do it at the Sophie Social that they had on the Wednesday night? Because they hosted it at their booth. But we thought, no, probably be a bit too busy. As it was, the booth was still absolutely rammed and we had a ton of people. But they showed off their Open AD Kit demo. That was really awesome. And again, that cloud native development practice and the power of ARM service. You can see the AD Link. They've got the AD Link computer there. I understand you've got one of those, right?
Yes, I've been working with them and Ampere doing some testing. What I typically do is I test these computers to their limits and do weird things with them. But it's great to see the stability and how they are, they're useful in development and production scenarios. And I saw these boards like 4 or 5 different places on the floor.
Yeah, literally everywhere.
Over at Canonical and AWS and here. So
yeah, exactly. And some places we didn't even realize. We turn and go, oh my goodness, that's there as well. Because so I think if I remember correctly, it's got an ARM Neoverse core inside. So it really enables that for developers to take that, and then with the Sophie reference architecture we have, and all of this with the backdrop of the work they've been doing with Sophie, and also as this advancement's taken place with the SDV Alliance, right, which was the announcement we had, this collaboration of collaborations and consortiums, Sophie, Eclipse, Covesa, and AutoSAR. Was really great to see. And actually, the celebrity that is Robert Day, if you're in the automotive world, you probably know him, was interviewed by Sonatas as well, which was really great to see. And there was also Tata Technologies. They showed off their demo as well. So it's really interesting to see these trends starting to continue to accelerate and grow with this SDV Alliance. So, I mean, from my perspective, as you say, it's been, SDV, Sophie, and ARM has been everywhere, in places you'd expect, in places you wouldn't expect. So, I mean, from my perspective, and I don't know about you, but I feel that these trends are just going to accelerate through 2024 in automotive.
Yeah. I mean, you have a lot of people coming out of embedded engineering, and you have a lot of people coming out of real-time OSs and things, and all that is coming together in that ecosystem. So it's exciting to see. As I'm not deeply involved in the automotive world, but I like to see the fact that it's the development and the practices I see elsewhere that do so well are also in that realm.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to see that happening. And actually, you had a really great chat with not just Greenhill Software, but AWS.
Yes.
You went to their booth and had a chat with Stefano. He's awesome. We did a live tech talk with him from his lab in Santa Clara. So just love the idea of a lab joining, from this top secret, not so top secret lab. So what was he really talking about in this demo?
I wanted to know more about software-defined vehicles in general, because like I said, I'm not deeply in the automotive world, but I'm tangential to it a lot of ways. So he described that to me. He showed a lot of how Amazon's automotive division works in that world in deploying things. So again, my perspective, being a software developer, I wanted to see how do we get tested software out to cars, over the air, all those kind of things, and how they use the tools to verify that everywhere from the testing and development up to production, how do we make sure that code is going to run correctly? And with Amazon, they have everything from the IoT devices that are running on ARM to their servers running Graviton to the cars that are running ARM. So it's nice to see that when you test the code and develop it, it's going to be the right thing for production.
Exactly, and that binary compatibility that you have from cloud to edge is just accelerating, and that's really exciting to see. So
and they did have another one of those. Everybody had those.
Everyone had the big grab. Exactly, you could have done a little spot it around and see where you can find it. But I also understand, and you can see one of them here, right, on its side, rather than face up.
I know that threw me off for a second. I'm like, oh, that's still the same one.
That's exactly the same one, exactly. So this was the one actually on their AWS booth.
Yeah, that was running one of their deployment demos, development, because you could develop and then deploy, and it would sense, if there's a problem, it would roll it back automatically. It's nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, it's a lot of great stuff already. And actually, that's in automotive space. But I understand you also got a chance to go to the automotive grade Linux, and there's a really great interesting stuff they've been doing with Raspberry Pi, right?
It caught my eye because I was walking around and I saw not only the Linux, because I am deeply involved in that ecosystem, but then I saw there's 7 Raspberry Pis all over the place. There was a Pi 400 running one project, a couple Pi 4s running, and some other, MediaTek. I think there are a couple other SoCs that were running their demos, but they had a lot of dashboard and infotainment and things like that. So I love it because it's open source. There's a huge community out there, and somebody like me can go in and dip my toes in the water and work on that too. I don't have to know advanced rocket science to get into it. So I love that, and for infotainment especially, because something like a Raspberry Pi is very energy efficient.
Absolutely.
And I can go to my local computer store and buy one. And do my development. I don't have to wait for something to ship and do that work. It's
so, I mean, they're just incredible. I love working with the Raspberry Pi. And actually, you've been looking around the show floor, looking quite a lot at Raspberry Pi. So why don't you talk a bit more about what you've seen, not just in automotive, but across the show floor with Raspberry Pi. I will flag up some B-rolls you're talking through. You've seen some really engaging stuff. I've been absolutely amazed by it. Again, with CES, it's like, where is all this stuff? I need to go and find it tomorrow.
Oh, it's amazing. I probably covered 30% of CES with all the 35,000 steps that I've taken. And of that 30%, I know there's a lot more, but in the innovation hall where they have a lot of startups and countries bring all their incubation projects, so many of them have tested and built things on Raspberry Pi. And the one that you see here is a exercise band. It's a smart band, and it's a smart band. It's amazing, whatever. But the guy who built it, he's an electrical engineer, and he's like, I need a way to, when I'm manufacturing it, to make sure that it works at the end of the line. So he built a bed of nails tester with a Raspberry Pi. Instead of you'd spend $10,000 on one of these things from a company. He built his own with a Raspberry Pi to make sure that every board that comes off the line is working.
Wow.
So inside it might have an ARM core too. I didn't ask him about. I was more fascinated by the manufacturing process. So
it's just incredible.
But his there were so many other ones too. There were some people would bring demos across, but to save space in their luggage, they couldn't haul their computer. So they were like, well, I just optimized it a little bit. I got it running in Chromium or whatever project and got it to run on the Raspberry Pi, which was so much easier to pack and bring with them. And I know some of the booths, it's like, we only get 50 watts of power. So it's like you have a limited budget. Your screen uses 25 and your Pi uses 5. So
exactly, there was that power constraint certainly did help. But
and a sensor that's running on a Raspberry Pi. I know one thing I'm interested in is IR and different imaging and IoT things. And, so you can strap a Raspberry Pi onto this thing. It's a company that makes a sensor, and it uses power over Ethernet. So you have one plug goes
Wow.
into the device, and it's always powered and sending you the data that you need.
It's just awesome.
but
Awesome.
yeah.
And actually, I love the one that we've got next.
Oh,
This is a
yes.
particularly amazing accessibility
Yeah,
use case
so
with
so
Raspberry
you know,
Pi.
a little startup. There was a blind person who's like, I want to participate. I want to know what's going on in these games. And there's a box that has a Raspberry Pi inside, and it has a 5G connection. You can bring it to a game, and it uses the data feed from whatever it is, whether it's a football game or hockey or something. They're still working on it, of course. This is early prototype, but you can, with your hand, you can feel where the players are, what's happening, what play just happened, whether it was a completion or whatever it is. So it's cool to see that.
It's really cool. I'm gutted I haven't seen it yet. I really want to go and see this now because it's amazing.
Well, it's in the middle of a giant hall.
Yeah,
with 100
exactly.
things every row, and it's so hard because everything is fascinating to see.
Yeah, it really is. I'm definitely gonna check that out because I mean, technology is just so incredibly powerful when you tie it together with these, not just our architecture, but our partner ecosystem. When it's applied to use cases like that, it's just incredible to see.
The fact that you can just carry this into a stadium and watch the game as a blind person.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Just amazing. And you got to meet a certain other celebrity at the show,
yesterday
right?
morning I found Evan Upton of Raspberry Pi. So we talked a little bit about Raspberry Pi,
Awesome.
some of the future, what's coming down the pipe, and I love it because in the maker ecosystem, ARM has been at the core.
Yes.
Whether or not you use Raspberry Pi, there's so much ARM in there. So it's great to talk to him and see what's coming next, because they definitely lead the way a lot of times with how a maker and how electronics engineers and stuff can experiment and tinker.
Absolutely, and they've been releasing some incredible ARM-based products, so it's really great to have a chat with him. He's just awesome to interact with. Every time I speak with him, he's always got so much time for you, and he's really engaging. Has so many stories to tell, and so many great ideas and innovation.
And of course, I went to the UK last year. He came to the US this year, so I guess I'm back on the clock to go visit him again.
Absolutely. Well, do swing by our
Cambridge. Maybe I could come by ARM too.
Please do swing by our Cambridge HQ, right? We'd love to see that. And I mean, whether it's embedded, whether it's automotive, whether it's the server, whether it's end user devices, ARM is literally ubiquitous, not just at CES, and the end user device perspective as well. Just talking about that, it was really exciting to see the new. We shared on social media about an LG TV, but we also had the new Lenovo M11 tablet. I don't know if you got a chance to head over to Lenovo's area.
But that's one of the ones I wanted to. I kept passing it, and I just never made it.
It was just awesome to see, right? This was a brand new product they released on the day, which is always really exciting. It's like, oh, brand new product, shiny thing. It was really cool. I love live demos of it as well. So they went, well, why don't we show off our new ARM-based Lenovo M11 tab, Cortex A72 on board, that they announced that day with a MediaTek Genio on board, and the capabilities they showed live. They scanned one of our ARM branding pieces. They used AI to then take that scan, put it into your Notes app, and then you could manipulate the image, and really kind of showed this theme of AI, right? It's not just it's at CES. It's a big theme in general in the industry. So actually, one of the AI demos you saw, though, was not necessarily on a kind of tablet device, but it was from HiMax, right? Which is what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
So talk a bit more about that. What did you see here?
Yeah, so it was neat. They had a few different demos set up using this chip that it can sip just milliwatts of power and still has a little tiny neural engine that's enough to do pose detection. It can do. They showed using infrared and looking at the pattern of your veins in your hand.
Wow.
For a security print kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of possibilities that opens up if you can use it at such low power. And I was interested because I've worked in that space, getting these little sensors, and a lot of them, it's like, oh, it uses 100 milliwatts or 200 or 300, so battery power is just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But when you get things that can get down to that low milliwatt range, all of a sudden a lot more use cases open up. A camera that has a battery that lasts 3 years instead of 3 months. And for me, I hate it. I bought a camera like that a couple of years ago. I'd put it up, and it's just so annoying to have to go up, get out the ladder, change the battery, and you're like, and then I gave up using it because it wasn't worth it. So if we can get a little bit, it's not like giant AI models. You're not doing GPT on it.
Yeah.
But you can get enough AI for pose detection or for facial recognition, those kind of things. Just a small thing, and then you could trigger using a little more power to send something over Wi-Fi or to do something useful with it. So it was a neat demo that I saw, and
really nice.
I'm excited to see that show up in more devices.
Exactly, the AI use case is just going to explode. And you mentioned about that power efficiency, right? ARM's DNA really is in those powerful, power efficient use cases. And talking about, of course, if you're going to run something off a battery, right? This is great, but one of the things you saw was from Exeger, which had a solar panel on it. So what was this?
It's a
really
perfect lead-in
because use case.
Yeah, they make these. It's called the power foil. It's flexible solar, and it's enough power to run some of these devices. The thing that I love is, 10 years ago, I would not imagine that we could do this. Maybe some very limited use cases with solar on a consumer product. Solar was more expensive. The chips weren't fast enough. And now it's like it's magic because we have enough solar power, it's efficient enough, and they can build these flexible solar panels, integrate it with the device. 3M was showing off their headset that had it. Adidas had one. There's a bunch of companies integrating into their devices, and the chips use so little energy that you can actually make a useful product. It's not like asterisk, you can't actually do it. You can buy this and you literally don't have to charge the battery, because as long as you don't live in pitch black, even the lights in this room would be enough to keep it charged for normal use cases. Now, if you're listening to music 24/7 and you never sleep, maybe not. But, but it was cool to see that, because it's the convergence of the low power with high efficiency. You can actually do things with low power, and the solar is now good enough for certain use cases. I mean, you're not going to run a server off solar power. Not yet.
Not yet. One day.
Not yet. But it can do small things, small jobs, without ever having to charge a battery. It's very cool stuff.
I mean, especially with the insatiable demand for compute out there, you're going to need as much energy efficiency as possible. And not just from the ARM perspective that we're providing together with our partner ecosystem, but with the power sources that you have out there.
And saving having to change batteries again. Like with the camera, you don't have to change a battery in the device for 10 years. Whatever the warranty is for it, that's powerful, because then, at Christmas time, you have all the kids' toys putting all the batteries in. You don't have to do that if you have a use case where it doesn't need the higher energy output. It was very fun.
No, absolutely awesome. Well, no, that's really some really great B-roll. I absolutely loved seeing what you got up to at CES and the whole ARM ecosystem, what it was doing. I think we between us captured just a small part of CES, because it was pretty much everywhere you looked.
I think if you had 6 weeks, you couldn't cover it all.
Yeah, exactly. You'd need a whole army of people to cover the amount of stuff. But ARM was, absolutely everywhere at CES. And if I had to really pin you down on what your absolute top highlight on ARM at CES would be, what would you say it was?
Well, it's two. The one is seeing that system, the Ampere system, throughout all these places. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome.
And then also just seeing all these low power use cases where it's useful, like the headset and those things. So being able to just sip energy and still do useful work, and seeing in my mind, like in the future, what more can we do with that? As we integrate things together.
Absolutely. No, it's really exciting. It's a very exciting future ahead, and we've got some amazing ARM innovations at CES that we've seen. So thank you so much for covering a lot of them and seeing so many of them, and for sharing your experiences with our audience today. It's been really, really great. Is there anything final you have to say before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I'm excited because I'm going to have a video where I go a little bit deeper into a few of the topics.
Oh, awesome.
So at Green Hills and a few of the other ones too, I talked to Exeger about the power foil. So it's a lot of fascinating things, and I'm going to try to distill some of that. You can't really, it's so hard to convey the experience because it's something weird. It's crazy here at CES, but it's great. And I'm going to have that. And I also talked to Evan Upton, and we'll have that interview. So if you're interested in Pi stuff and the maker community, there's some good nuggets in that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Really appreciate you joining us today. It's been really great. And that about wraps up this ARM Tech Talk. And if you've missed any of them, they're all available on the ARM YouTube channel. So please subscribe to the ARM YouTube channel so you don't miss any of the live streams and all the other great content we post on the ARM YouTube channel. Tomorrow, for our final ARM Tech Talk, we're going to be joined by Synaptics talking about their awesome IoT devices powered by ARM. They've got some really great demos and examples of what's coming in that space for you in the industry. So tune in at 10 a.m. Pacific for that, and we look forward to seeing you there. Jeff, thank you so much again for joining us for today's ARM Tech Talk. Audience, thank you so much for joining. We'll see you tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific, for the final ARM Tech Talk live from CES in Las Vegas. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.